There is a power within you so ancient, so holy, that it predates your name, your form, even your memory of being human. It is the pulse that brought your soul into flesh, the whisper that called you down the spiral of time, the heat that burns quietly beneath your breath and heartbeat, waiting to be remembered, not by force, not through dogma, but through direct revelation, a sacred reunion with the truth of what you are. This power has been named many things: Eros, Kundalini, Chi, the holy fire. It dances in myth as serpents, it trembles in your bones when you fall in love, it stirs in the belly as longing, as ache, as desire. It is the same force that cracks the seed to sprout, pushes the tide against the shore, and births galaxies from the womb of space. It is not separate from you, it is you. The primal rhythm beneath the persona, the God spark disguised as flesh. And yet, how quickly it was buried. They taught us to fear it. They cloaked it in shame, turned it into taboo, fractured it into lust and guilt. We were told that to be spiritual, we must be clean, celibate, ascetic, sterilized of passion. That the path to light meant climbing out of the body, away from sensation, away from the sacred playground of incarnation. But this was the great lie. Because the truth is, your sexual energy is your spiritual energy, not an obstacle to God, but the doorway, not a distraction from the soul, but the very fuel that awakens it. To awaken is not to escape your humanity, but to illuminate it, to anoint your instincts with awareness, your desires with devotion, your body with divinity. This is the path from lust to light, from unconscious craving to conscious creation, from the disembodied search for power to the full-bodied remembrance that you are power itself. This is not about indulgence, nor is it about repression. This is about transmutation, the art of turning fire into gold, instinct into illumination, arousal into ascension. In this soul journey, we will trace the ancient wisdom hidden within your own blood. We will explore how mystics of every tradition guarded this truth, how orgasm can become prayer, how breath and presence can awaken the divine serpent curled at the base of your spine, and how you, yes, you, can reclaim your sacred fire and wield it as the architect of your own evolution. Because the light the world is waiting for is not out there. It's within you, and it's rising. If this message stirs something ancient in your being, if you sense that this is more than just a video, that it's an echo of something you once knew, then like, comment, and subscribe. Not just to support this work, but to anchor your own intention to remember. The journey begins now. To understand the sacred potential of sexual energy, we must first unlearn what we've been taught about it, because in our modern world, sexuality has been divorced from its origin. It's been packaged and sold, distorted into entertainment, reduced to biology or taboo, swinging between hedonism and denial like a broken pendulum. But before these distortions, before language, before culture, there was energy, undivided, pure, radiant, alive. Sexual energy is the creative frequency of the universe. It is the blueprint of manifestation, the force that animates atoms, pulses in galaxies, births, stars, and souls. The ancients didn't speak of sex as separate from divinity. They saw it as the mirror of divine union itself. In Egypt, the dance between Isis and Osiris wasn't carnal fantasy. It was a sacred ritual of polarity, resurrection, and cosmic regeneration. In Vedic traditions, the union of Shiva and Shakti symbolizes the interplay of consciousness and creative force. In Taoism, sexual energy is not just a human impulse, but a subtle life current, Jing, that when preserved and refined, becomes the fuel for immortality. The truth that links all these traditions is this: sexual energy is not inherently sexual as we understand it. It is creative, life, force energy. It is the fire of transformation, the serpent of awakening, the fluid intelligence of source in motion, and how you use it determines everything. Used unconsciously, this energy contracts, loops in the lower centers, and binds you to cycles of craving and depletion. You chase the high, then collapse. You grasp at pleasure, then feel guilt. It becomes a leaking vessel, temporary ecstasy followed by emptiness. This is what the mystics warned us of. Not the danger of desire, but the danger of unconscious desire. It is not lust that poison, it is lust without awareness, without reverence, without direction. But when this same energy is honored, cultivated, and raised, it becomes light, it becomes wisdom, it becomes the fuel for your creativity, your intuition, your vitality, your spiritual expansion. There is a law in metaphysics: as above, so below, as within, so without. Sexual energy is the bridge between those realms. It is the axis between form and formless, between human and divine. And every time you channel it consciously, you are not just empowering your body, you are illuminating your soul. The chakra system offers a map of this ascent. Sexual energy originates in the sacral center, linked to emotion, sensuality, and desire. When left here, it is raw and primal. But as it rises through the solar plexus, it fuels willpower and transformation. Through the heart, it becomes love. Through the throat, it becomes expression. Through the third eye, it becomes vision. And through the crown, it becomes divine union. This is the path of the alchemist, not the one who represses fire, but the one who learns to hold it, direct it, transmute it. The sacred masculine within you learns to contain. The sacred feminine learns to flow. Together, they spiral upward. This is not theory. This is a living, breathing reality that you can feel in your body right now. That heat in your belly, that tingling up your spine when something stirs your soul, that's not just biology. That's not just chemistry. That's remembrance. That's life force knocking at the gates of your consciousness, asking to be honored. And here's the miracle. This energy is renewable. You don't need to seek it from others. You don't need to drain it through distraction. You only need to turn inward, breathe, feel, and reclaim what has always been yours. So the question is not whether you have this power. The question is, are you ready to become the guardian of your own sacred fire? Because the moment you choose to stop wasting it, the moment you choose to honor it, you step onto the true path of initiation. You begin to walk the bridge from lust to light. If this message stirs something ancient in your soul, subscribe, because the next part of this series goes even deeper. Now let's open the inner sanctum, where myth, memory, and metaphor converge. Throughout every ancient civilization that dared to look deeper than appearances, there exist encoded myths, veiled parables that whisper of a lost truth. A truth not told outright, but revealed in symbols, rituals, and forbidden stories. The kind of truth you feel in your bones before your mind even understands. Sexual energy, this raw, holy force, has always been shrouded in the language of myth, not because it is unreal, but because it is too real, too potent to be spoken plainly, too sacred to be handled without reverence. Let's begin with the serpent, perhaps the most universal symbol of this energy. In the East, the coiled serpent is Kundalini, said to lie dormant at the base of the spine. In awakening, it rises piercing the chakras like a serpent, ascending the tree of life, uniting heaven and earth through the spine, the living axis of the human form. In ancient Greece, we see the caduceus, the staff of Hermes, two serpents spiraling around a rod with wings at the top. This was not just a symbol of medicine or trade, as modernity claims. It was a map, a blueprint of energetic transformation. The two serpents represent dual polarity, masculine and feminine, lunar and solar, yin and yang spiraling in sacred dance up the spinal column. The wings? They symbolize transcendence, ascension, divine flight, through embodied union. In the Hebrew mystic tradition, the tree of knowledge and the tree of life were once one. The serpent, offering Eve the fruit, was not the devil. It was awakening, the invitation to know, to taste, to return to embodied wisdom. But over time, this myth was inverted, distorted to shame the very impulse that leads us back to God. And then there is the Magdalene, long buried beneath centuries of doctrine. She was not a prostitute, but a priestess, not a sinner, but a keeper of gnosis. The early Gnostics called her the embodiment of Sophia, divine feminine wisdom. She and Yeshua were not merely teacher and follower, but sacred counterparts enacting the hieros gamos, the sacred marriage of spirit and flesh, masculine and feminine, awareness and energy. Their union was not lustful, it was luminous. Not erotic in the profane sense, but deeply erotic in the original sense of eros, life's drive toward wholeness. The alchemists, too, carried this secret. Their great work was not about transmuting lead into gold in the physical sense. It was a metaphor. Lead is unconscious desire. Gold is awakened presence. The crucible of this work? The body, the breath, the fire of inner transformation. Sexual energy was the prima materia, the raw substance from which all true spiritual gold is forged. Even the Grail mysteries, buried within Arthurian legend, speak of this. The Grail is not a cup, but the womb, the holy vessel, the chalice of creation. The knights sought it not to drink from, but to remember the sacred feminine as the missing key to spiritual restoration. All of these stories, all of these symbols, point to the same truth. The body is the temple, the sexual force is the holy fire, and the union of opposites within us is the path to illumination. This is the lost wisdom the world is now ready to reclaim. You are not here to repeat the old myth of fall and shame. You are here to live the true myth, the one where you remember your power, not through suppression, but through sacred integration, where your desire is no longer a chain, but a compass pointing back to source. And in this remembering, you become the myth incarnate. You become the serpent who rises, the alchemist who transmutes, the grail that overflows with divine light. If this message stirs something ancient in your soul, subscribe, because what comes next reveals even more. Let us now descend from the celestial into the embodied, where sacred insight becomes sacred action. To speak of divine power is one thing. To live it moment by moment, breath by breath, is the true initiation. Because the journey from lust to light is not simply a revelation. It is a practice, a way of walking through the world with reverence burning in your chest and sacred fire coursing through your spine. You begin by remembering that this energy is already alive in you. You do not need to chase it through others, extract it from lovers, or spark it artificially. It has always been yours. It is encoded in your breath, your heartbeat, your presence. The first step is not to have more of it, but to stop leaking it. Every time you mindlessly scroll into stimulation, numb your hunger with distraction, or give yourself away without presence, you scatter this power into the wind. Not as punishment, but because energy follows awareness, and when your awareness is diluted, your life force is diluted with it. But this can be reclaimed, not through shame, not through withdrawal, but through the sacred act of turning inward. When you feel desire arise, do not push it away, and do not chase it outward. Instead, pause. Breathe into it. Ask, what is this longing really pointing toward? Sometimes it is the hunger for union. Sometimes it is the ache to create, to be seen, to express. Sometimes it is your soul asking to feel fully alive. This energy does not demand suppression. It asks for redirection. Try this. The next time you feel turned on, not just sexually, but spiritually turned on by life, breathe it upward. Feel the sensation rise from your sacral center, through your belly, into your chest. Let it bloom in the heart, let it rise through the throat and crown. Let it circulate, nourish, expand. You are learning the lost art of internal alchemy, the same energy transformed by attention. This is how the mystics did it. They didn't kill the fire. They learned to sit with it, shape it, tend it like a sacred flame. You can use this energy to deepen your meditation, fuel your creations, infuse your voice with resonance, charge your manifestations with voltage. This is not theory, it's physics. Coherent energy produces coherent results. Sexual energy, when concentrated, becomes spiritual magnetism. People feel it. The world responds to it, not because of lust, but because of light. This work does not mean celibacy, unless that is your sacred path, nor does it mean indulgence, unless that leads to deeper awareness. What it means is sovereignty. You choose. You move from impulse to intention, from reaction to reverence. Relationships transform through this lens. No longer do you seek another to complete you. You seek union not from lack, but from fullness. Every touch becomes prayer. Every gaze becomes transmission. And if you walk alone, you are still whole. You are no longer seeking love to feel sacred. You are sacred, and love flows from there. Even your creativity shifts. When you harness this life force, you become a living current of manifestation. Art, ideas, movements, businesses, communities, these are all extensions of the same power that creates life through your body. When directed with clarity and heart, sexual energy births realities. But all of this begins in the most simple place: your presence, your breath, your choice to feel instead of flee, to rise instead of release, to honor the wave of desire not as shameful, but as sacred. You begin to see the divine in every sensation, in the warmth between your palms, in the pull of longing in your gut, in the subtle tingling of your spine when beauty walks into the room. And you remember, this is not just arousal, this is awakening. The veil between the physical and the divine becomes thinner, and one day, it vanishes. There is no separation. You are the temple, you are the priest, you are the offering. And the altar is this moment, right here. No longer do you fear your power. You inhabit it. No longer do you run from your fire. You tend it. This is the return of sacred sexuality, not as performance, not as concept, but as lived, embodied truth. Let us now step through the final threshold, the place where all knowing becomes embodiment and all fire becomes form. You are not here to shrink. You are not here to split yourself between sacred and profane, spiritual and sensual, body and soul. You are here to remember that there is no division, only distortion. The deeper truth is this: your sexual energy is not separate from your divinity. It is the echo of your source, humming in the marrow of your being. Every pulse of longing, every current of arousal, every flicker of desire, these are not enemies of enlightenment. They are invitations. Invitations to come home to your full self, to embody the God force you carry in your cells, to remember the holy architecture that is your body. You were never meant to live fragmented, never meant to choose between ecstasy and elevation. The greatest lie ever told was that spirit and flesh are at war. But the mystics, the sages, the ancient ones, they knew that the flesh is the scroll, and your desire is the ink that writes the soul's poem upon the world. You were made of stars and soil, breath and blood, silence and song. You are not either or. You are the entire spectrum, from lust to light, and your journey is not about escaping the lower, but raising it into the higher until nothing remains but unity. When you see the sacred in your sexuality, you begin to walk differently. You speak with fire. You create with purpose. You love with presence. Your life becomes a devotion, a consecrated flame. And when temptation comes, and it will, you will not fall into shame or suppression. You will breathe, you will remember, and you will ask, with clear eyes and a steady spine, where does this energy want to go? What can I create with it? What truth can I awaken with it? Because that is what you are now. A creator, a channel, a conscious temple of light. You do not need to abandon your body to find God. You only need to inhabit it fully. The sacred lives in your spine, in your hips, in your voice, in your eyes. It lives in your stillness and in your fire, and it rises when you rise. Let yourself become the living flame. Let your desire lead you not into loops of longing, but into deeper devotion. Let your sensuality be a compass to your soul. Let your pleasure become praise. Let your presence become a revolution. Because in a world that teaches you to fear your power, to numb it, waste it, or give it away, the most radical act is to embody it, to claim it, to live it with reverence and sovereignty. And so I leave you with this: transmute the lust, ignite the light, become the flame, and walk the world as a living temple of sacred power. The forgotten light in you is remembering. Don't turn away now. If this message awakens something in you, share your reflections in the comments below. I want to hear your voice. Let us weave a web of remembrance together. And if you're ready to go deeper, to walk this path of embodiment, to reclaim every part of yourself as sacred, subscribe and share this message with someone who is ready to rise. Because this is not the end. It is the ignition. The fire is in you, and it's time to let it burn.